screen. So stream health looks good. Why have we got no picture? Right. Let's see. Okay. I can see myself. This seems to be working, hopefully. Right. Let's talk about this. Brilliant. Let's mute that. Okay. So, for those people watching, this is my Christmas live painting session. The plan is to kind of test going live. Unfortunately, YouTube used to do this far more effectively. You used to just press go live and everything was happy. Unfortunately, it seems that what's happening is you have to download some sort of encoder and then you have to set it up. And so I'm playing with very new technology to me. And so this isn't going to be as good as I'd hoped. Hopefully in time I will learn to, I'll be able to get used to this technology. I'll be able to set it up so that I can have a second camera looking, so that when you guys watch this you'll see me painting in one corner while I'm talking to you guys in another. Alright, that's the plan. I'm hoping as well that the chat enable thing will work. So if you are watching, if you could type something in the chat just to test that out, that would be really, really helpful. As I say, this is a bit of a practice run. I'm hoping Saturday night to do a live building session. I've got a ton of Russian vehicles kind of lined up, both metal and plastic. Got a few options in the pipeline for Saturday, which should be good. And if I can get this working today, then hopefully when it comes to Saturday, we'll just be swimming and it'll be great. So yeah, that'd be good. Right, what do I need to tell you guys before we get started? Right, sorry about the light. It's kind of there because that's what I use to paint. I get a far better quality light. I should say, if you guys are painting and you don't have one of these, I would highly recommend it. Excuse me. They're fantastic. Really do make the quality of light when you're painting far better, and it also helps with photos as well. So if you're thinking about doing photography of your figures, you check that out. This one was, I think, like £30 or something from Hobbycraft. So not a huge investment, but it just does make a difference. Right, what am I painting today? I have a whole host of different figures. Actually, I've got two companies. I don't know if you can see that. It's going to be a bit tricky under the light. This is where I need a second camera, you see, right? No, you're not going to be able to see them. Okay, basically what I've got is I've got two AB figures. I don't know if I shine the light at it, it's not going to work. So let's see if we do that. Whoa, where's the camera? There he is. Right, we've got one AB figure, and I'll tell you the resolution on this is poor as well, so I'm not going to even bother with that. I've got two AB figures, and I'll have pictures for you at some later date, probably on the Facebook page, as per usual. So I've got two AB figures, and then I've got two packs of the Shellhole Scenics figures that I have started on. I started on the casualties. and I've started on the snipers. There's supposed to be male and female snipers. There's only one that I can sort of tell is definitely a female. She's got much longer hair than the others. The others have got hoods up, so, or helmets on. So yeah, male and female, but I can only tell one female. So so yeah, I've got some snipers from them. I've also got some casualties. What I've done up to this point is I have put the base coat colours on, and I have put an ink wash on. So what I'm going to be doing today is essentially doing the highlights to finish these guys off. Hopefully get time to also do some work on the bases. So start off putting some basic paint on the bases. Once it's dry, I'll be able to dry brush it, and then eventually I'll be able to put things like scatter, flock, tufts of grass, bushes, that sort of thing on there. I have got 2 snipers in like winter camo suits, and so the idea with those is that I will hopefully do winter bases for the first time, so that'd be quite exciting. And as per usual, these will be up on Facebook. Right, sorry, I realised that actually nobody is watching other than myself, so I'm just gonna quickly test. That came up, and yeah, that's hopefully that works. So anyway, I'm testing that. I don't know why I'm testing that. Right, let's get on with some painting. That's kind of what we're here for. I was kind of hoping people would be here, just so I have somebody to chat to, really. Right, I suppose I should tell you about colours as well, as is kind of a painting video. By no means are these the right colours, or the absolute hard and fast colours. You kind of paint what you fancy. In fact, I don't even need these. You paint what you fancy. If it looks right to you, go for it. With the Russians, the standard infantry, I use Middlestone from Vallejo for their uniform colour. I find once you put on the sort of a brown wash, I use the Earth Agrax ink tone shade thing from GW Citadel. I find that once you put that wash on, it then comes out a really nice colour for like a summer uniform. And then highlight with a green ochre, and then if I'm going to do an extreme highlight, then I would do something like a dark sand, and those are all Vallejo colours. For webbing, I tend to use a brown. I have, let's see what brown I use. I use a Citadel paint, and this one is Mournfang brown. Just a basic brown. I mean, you could use a leather colour, doesn't really matter. For the boots, I just use a standard black. For helmets, in the past I've used Russian uniform, which is a Vallejo colour. Recently I've been using military green, which again is a Vallejo colour. All work just as well. What else have I done? For your metals, I use a standard sort of, I think it's called bolt gun metal or something like that. Citadel, obviously, they change their names every 5 minutes. At the moment, I'm using a lead bleacher or bletcher. So that's kind of the sort of standard base colours. For the wood on the stocks, again, I use the Mournfang brown. But again, just kind of as you look at it, what do you think? Somebody once told me, if it works for you, it's right. All right, so something worth thinking about. So for highlights, I'm going to use my Winsor & Newton brush. This one is 00. Don't know if that means much. I tend to use this just for highlighting because I really like it. I try to keep it very much with a nice point. So I'm going to start off highlighting the browns. For that, I'm going to use a Scrag brown. It shouldn't take very long at all, because all I'm doing is picking out little bits of webbing. So on things like rucksacks and stuff, it'd be like the edges. Again, it's thinking where the light's going to come from, but I'm no expert painter. I just do it because I enjoy it. I've recently learnt to do highlighting, and I've really enjoyed it, and I think it makes my figures look that much better. So yeah, that's why I do the highlights. I never used to. I found them time consuming. I wasn't very good at it, so I didn't think it looked particularly good. But if I'm really honest, actually, it makes a huge difference to my figures, and it's one of the old adage of, practice makes perfect. And actually, I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but that practice is definitely paying off, and I feel like I'm getting far better. And it's not when you put the highlight on, it's not about covering up all of the existing paint. It's actually about leaving quite a lot of the existing paint, because that existing paint gives you the darker colour underneath the highlights, and so it then builds up that sort of two-tone, or even 3 or 4 tones, depending on how many highlights you put on, and that gives it that quality of depth to the colour, which is great. So yeah, if you haven't tried highlighting before, I would recommend it. I know in the historical side, people often stay away from Citadel and GW stuff, but actually, I think a lot of people who do historicals probably started off on Games Workshop. I didn't, so I've sort of been learning backwards, I guess. Started off trying to do my own thing, got that to a reasonable level, and then actually got to a stage where I thought, well, I need to get better. So I've been trying different techniques out. I also use the Scrag Brown for some of the hair as well. So get a little bit of hair on some of these guys. Some of them I've already put hair on with the Morphang Brown, so I'll just be trying to highlight bits of the hair rather than completely cover it, because again, it'll give it that depth. With some of them I haven't, and so I just use the Scrag Brown as the first colour to go on the hair. Yeah, again, it's what works for you. Yeah, right. Let's move on, because moving through these casualties quite nicely. I'm sorry, I've got my head down to the camera. I know that's really bad, and as I say, I would like to actually work out, and if anybody actually knows how to do this, please drop a comment in the comments box. But I'd really like to be able to sort of sort my phone out so that actually it was recording from the side at more sort of the level that I'm painting at, and so that when I look up, I can talk to the desktop the camera, but then when I'm painting, you can actually see what I'm doing, and I think the light will be very beneficial for that. So yeah, if you know how to get a second camera kind of working, please let me know in the comments. I'm certainly not an expert at this by any stretch of the imagination. This is all learning as I go. I tend to watch in the evenings an episode of Bob Ross, which I know is going back some, and some might think he's a bit crazy, and yeah, and I'm actually probably with you on that. He's a little bit crazy, But I think he's brilliant, and some of his phrases are just fantastic. And I think he really hits the nail on the head when it's give it a try, see what happens, and actually when he says we don't make mistakes, we just make happy little accidents. Actually, I think when we're painting, that's really important to remember, is that it is, give it a try. If you make a mistake, you can always go back, and it's not final with painting. It's one of the nice things. So that's the webbing done on the casualties. Quick clean of the brush. Aha, lovely. Sorry. Excellent. Right. It's always good when you get emails from people. Yeah. So, I suppose if you're watching this, I don't know whether you'll find this a good thing to watch while you're painting, or not. But if if you are, or if you're a painter, and you're doing figures or whatever it is, drop a comment in and let me know what you're painting, because I'm always sort of interested to hear what people are painting. I've been painting Russians now for the last couple of months and doing quite a lot of it, which I'm really enjoying. I'm starting to think that I'm going to need to paint up some DAC from Zan Miniatures that I got sent to me soon, and that's going to be a bit different. I do like painting DAC, and one of the main reasons is that with DAC you have a real difference in uniform colours. So you might have one guy who's got sort of a very light tan coloured tunic, but with almost brand new issued issued trousers. So actually you have a real good contrast between the tunic and the trousers, which I think is great. And then you throw in a helmet or a side cap as well, and it really does make for an interesting looking force. And DAC are probably one of my favourite German forces to paint. I've tried painting early war. They're not bad, but very they can get quite uniform looking. Whereas I quite like, I suppose Russians are very uniform looking as well, but I do like the DAC for that being just a really interesting force to paint. They look really good. But yeah, I'd also like to hear from people who paint different scales, because I'm finding 20mm to be quite much quicker than 28mm, and actually it makes it very enjoyable, because I'm able to get much more painted much quicker, which is nice. So yeah, let me know in the descriptions or in the comments if you're watching this live. Obviously, it'd be great to hear from you now. If you're watching this later on, then yeah, throw a comment in the comments box. Let me just check, see if I've got anybody else. No, still just me watching. And that's just so I can see if there's anybody in who's writing comments and stuff. Yeah, quite lucky. I went and did some Christmas shopping this morning. Got home, and wife's not been feeling well today, so she said, "Oh, I'm happy just sitting downstairs watching TV. If you want to go and do some painting stuff," so that's quite nice. Yeah, not sure what time I'm going to do Saturday yet. As soon as I know, my plan was actually to do it tomorrow night, which would be Friday night. But I've unfortunately got a meeting that I've had to book in at that time, 7 o'clock on a Friday night. Bit crazy, but as it's for the tennis club, and it's not like a work one, but it is one where I have to work with, trying to fit around several people's schedules. So yeah, it's okay though. we don't mind. All for a good cause, and I don't know, I'll have other time to do painting, I'm sure. Christmas is just around the corner. Yeah, I suppose actually we could, if we're talking about Christmas, and hopefully we'll get more response tomorrow's show, not tomorrow's show, Saturday's show. But yeah, what are you hoping for Christmas? Is there a particular model or something like that you're hoping for? I know I'm hoping for some more battle group books, which would be great if I can pick some of those up or get some of those. What else? I might hopefully get a carry case. If you, well, we haven't recorded the episode yet, but myself and Andy and our mate Ben from down south with me, we're planning to go over to Ireland in the new year to stay with Piers Brand for a couple of days and get a lot of gaming in. And yeah, so that's what we're hoping to do. But to get my Russian hordes over there, I'm going to need something to carry them in. So I'm hoping to get a carry case of some description to get my figures over there without taking casualties. Because I know when my casualties meet, when my Russians meet Andy's Germans, I know there's going to be a lot of casualties. But I'm hoping that the casualties will happen in the game, not on the aircraft. So we'll wait and see on that one. Yeah. So yeah, stick a comment in the comments or in the chat if you're on, and let us know what you're hoping for Christmas. Is it a new rule set and some figures? What is it? Yeah, I probably shouldn't say this on camera because obviously it's evidence that can be used against me. But I went in to Game Shop yesterday to pick up some snow effects for some basing for these snipers, and every time I've been going in, I've seen these Armour Fast, which is a company, SU-100 tanks. It was $8.99, and I thought every time I go in, I think, oh, shall I not? And I keep using the excuse, well, it's nearly Christmas, so I really shouldn't. And yesterday I decided actually, if I'm going to do a build of various vehicles, I thought, why not add a couple more to the pile so that I can, if I do get the first one finished quickly, which may or may not happen, then I would have enough to do some more before, make sure the show doesn't sort of finish prematurely, because nobody likes that. But yeah, so what have I got for Saturday's build? I've got 2 SU-100s. I've got 2, actually technically I could have 3 IS-2s to build. I've got a couple of Gaz Jeeps, or they're not technically Jeeps, they are just Gaz vehicles. And I've got a M5 half track. So yeah, I've got quite a lot of vehicles to build, which I'm really looking forward to. And my plan is sort of to build them all together and then prime them all together, because I bought a can of I don't actually know who makes the spray cans, whether it's actually Battlefront or not, but basically it's the Flames of War spray cans that have the colours for the various armours, so you just sort of spray everything at once. So I've got the Russian armour one, and what I tend to do is just go outside and prime them all in a oneer, because that way I don't waste too much of the paint from the spray can. by doing multiple batches. Nice just to do all one at the same time, and then it's a quick case of just eventually sort of putting details on and dry brushing, and so yeah, it makes it fairly quick doing it that way. So, yeah, what are we looking at? Okay, just thinking about how much time I've been spent on these brown highlights, and these sort of 10 figures here, and this brown highlight has taken probably started painting at about 1/4 past, so we're looking at about 20 minutes so far, and I'm nearly done with all the brown highlights, which would be really good. Just going to show that actually it doesn't take too much to put highlights on, because at the end of the day you're not putting on a huge amount of paint. Obviously the detail is something you want to try to make sure you're getting right, but it's not a lot of paint that's going on, and you just put the detail on. I suppose the tricky bit is not making mistakes, but you know, because at this stage it's actually, you know, you very much, you nearly got the final product, so you're actually trying to just make sure you don't, you know, get it wrong at the last minute. Let's see. And of course, with as always, you know, if you're watching this and you think, actually, I quite like this live show thing, obviously I'm not going to be able to do it all the time, but some of you quite like these live things, these live shows, you know, seeing it without all the editing, you know, mistakes and all sort of thing. But yeah, if you enjoy this, you know, pop a, you know, like the video, pop a comment in, because it's good for me to actually know that people want to see this. If you know, I did a poll for the vehicle build, and that seemed to get a lot of good attention. So, hope that means you guys want this. And just put the last bits of brown on this guy. I will say this AB figure is absolutely phenomenal. I really enjoyed painting this guy. In fact, both of them. The level of detail is fantastic, and I was saying to my wife, not that she understood what I was talking about or cared in any way whatsoever, but I was saying to her that, you know, with the detail, and you got the sort of piping on the shoulder boards, that sort of level of detail when it comes to painting just makes it so much easier to do a good job and to paint it where you need to, because the detail's there to pick up the paint. So I'm really impressed with these AB figures. They are joyful to paint. You know, I'm not very good at faces and putting the highlights on the flesh, but when they're as well sculpted as they are, it just is so much easier, and you come out with such a better looking figure. So there is the brown done, and one of the cool things about the brown is that because it's done, you know, that's almost like a tick. And some of the other colours that I have, so for example, I'm just going to quickly do the military green, and all I'm doing with the military green is basically highlighting the helmets, and with the helmets I only really highlight the peaks right on the front edge, so we don't need a lot of paint. This is going to be a really quick sort of flick through, and one of the things I like to do, maybe this is just me, but when I finish a colour, when I've painted a colour, I put it on the other side of where the pile to do is, and it just makes me think, oh yeah, nearly there. Let's fly through these. Hopefully Ian from Shellhole Scenics is going to be happy with how these figures come out, and hopefully I get some good pictures with them. My plan is to build a light box. Although with Christmas coming, I am tempted to just buy one for Christmas, but if I do that, it's going to take the place of something else that I could get, like Balgrubanum, something like that. So, yeah, there we go. See, dark the military green, very quick. And I tend to just use a military green over a military green that's had the ink wash over it. So I'm hoping that the top military green colour there is going to be enough to get the highlights pinging out a little bit subtly without needing to go for a brighter green. And get a little bit on his phone that he's on. Top edge. Excellent. Right, and there's the military green done. So that's probably taken no more than 2 minutes. So where the brown, obviously there's a lot of it, that takes a little bit longer. The military green. Oh, somebody else is watching. Okay, so I don't know who you are, but if you wouldn't mind just putting something in the comments, say hi. That'd be fantastic. No, they've gone. Okay, well, got excited about nothing. There we go. Right, what colour should we do next? Something quick, I think. So let's throw on some Lothern Blue, which is a Citadel colour. I don't even know if you can see that particularly well. No, it's not focusing well, and it's okay. Anyway, we're going to use that, and all I'm using this on is the blue piping on the 2 air officers' caps, and on their shoulders they've got these little. In fact, I'm almost tempted not to do that. There we go. Just need the tiniest amount of paint. Steadiest hand. And you almost stop breathing, you just hold your breath. In fact, I don't even think do they need a bit of highlighting? No, they don't. They've come out really well, actually. Let's put a little bit of highlight on there. And again. And with the shoulder boards, all I did was I painted the base colour of the shoulder board with the middle stone, and then went over it with the blue on the shoulder boards, the braiding that needs to be blue. Another colour down. It's 3 down. 6 to go. But because I did that, I then used the Earth Agrax Earthshade ink wash on the shoulder board, so that the blue kind of got more of a brown wash than on that band around the cap, which I used a blue wash on. So yeah, right, next bit. I don't tend to highlight black. Some people would. I tend to leave the boots unhighlighted. So that's just how I do it. So the next colour. You know what, actually, while I've got, almost tempted with these camouflage sheets to go over the camouflage dots a little bit more again. Let me just get those 2 paints I used. two colours that aren't here, right up in the old. This bag of paint my wife had to bring back from the US like that. For some reason the shipping company told us that we couldn't ship paints, which was absolutely barking mad, and I was very unhappy about it. But there was nothing I could do about it, so in the end what we had to do was bite the bullet and just go with it. Right. So these two camouflage colours, the suits themselves, one I think I used, I want to say a military green or a really, really dark green. And then for the camouflage for that pattern, I've used this German sea black brown, which again is a Vallejo paint. It's number 822. For the other sniper, which is a lighter green, I ended up mixing paints to make the green. It was sort of a green yellow colour. Mixed those, and then the camouflage pattern I did in a English uniform, which is number 921. So I'm going to quickly go over the patterns again just to sort of re-emphasize them. And once I've done that, then what we'll do then is move on, and we'll, I think, probably tackle the snowsuits. Now the snowsuits, I'm using a guide from a GW Citadel paint guide app. And so what I've done is I've gone on there and I've had a look, and I'm using, I think, the white, the plain white as my color guide, and it tells you sort of what colors to do as the base color, and then what wash to put over it, and then it tells you like highlighting what colors to use in the highlight. So it's quite good for that, which is why I decided to use that to come up with the color scheme for doing the white camo suits. Because if you just paint it white, which is sort of what most people might think to do, that's fine, but actually white often doesn't come across as white. You get the shades of grey and stuff in it as well, so that's why I've gone for using that Citadel paint guide. Right, we're getting there. And again, when you do camo, it's a tricky art, but one of the best things to do is actually get some sort of reference material, either be a book or find some images online of what you're trying to replicate, so that when you do replicate it, you're getting somewhat close to what it should look like. And that's just it'll just help bring your figure to life a little bit more. You know, get a closer representation of what you're trying to paint. But as I say, all I'm highlighting here is the camouflage pattern itself, not the uniform colour underneath. And I think that's going to do it. More on that arm. Lovely. Yeah, that makes it pop just that little bit more. I don't think I need to do anything on the under uniform. So let's wash the brush and get some English uniform on here. I do love English uniform, and I love painting British for it, just because of the simplicity and this one might actually be clogged. That is unusual. I've not had the Vallejo paint unclogged before. Get clogged before. So yep, that was clogged. So nice bit of end of a paper clip. We have that all sorted. one of the cool things about the Vallejo dropper sort of pots is how little you can get out. I do like Citadel actually, where you can just dip it into the pot. You don't have to sort of actually commit to putting paint out. But well, the wash that I put on was certainly quite dark because it's actually faded out the camouflage pattern quite a lot. I'm sort of having to try and work out where I put it. Sometimes I paint with music on. Actually, I do that quite a lot, except for when I'm on YouTube, obviously. But I was thinking about that today. I was thinking whether I could make that happen. Not sure. Just because of feedback and stuff, and if I'm talking to you lot. So obviously not gone for that today. I was thinking Christmas music. I didn't know if that was too cheesy. I don't know. We'll see. Saturday, I'm hoping a lot of people will be watching, and that'll make it a little bit easier to talk. Mind you, being part of a podcast, I guess I'm fairly good at just rabbiting on. This is coming along well, so we're gonna just finish up this one. Lovely. Right, one more bit of leg to do. There we are. Yeah, I think we are good and done on that one. So there are the camouflage patterns. They're just been boldened a little bit more so they stick out. Right, what are the boys saying? Right, so that is the camouflage is done. Time for a quick drink. Right, what should we tackle next? Let's do the metal, because with metal sort of metallic paints like silver and gold and metal coloured, I don't use my Winsor and Newton. I've been told that they can sort of destroy them much quicker. They get worn out. So what I tend to do is just an old cheap brush, one that I've managed to keep to a fairly good point. And again, it's just going through and highlighting. So I haven't got actually too many with weapons on this section, on this lot of painting. Sometimes when I'm doing sort of big, more doing infantry sections, squads, I tend to get a lot of weapons to do and highlight, but not so much with this. So I'm going to take that as a blessing in disguise. Yeah, all my snipers have got weapons, obviously, and I I think one of my casualties out of 4 has. So I have to say, the first time I did highlight, I thought, oh, this is going to be a waste of time. Not really going to see it, but actually, to look at it and to see the difference when you see things pop was for me really worth it, because actually you just start to think, actually that is worth that additional bit of time just to make it pop that little extra bit. Remember, you want to you don't want to cover it all back up like I just did on that one, but you're just looking to leave some of the dark areas so that the bits that you have done just pop that extra bit. And actually it really does make a huge difference. I think the brown tends to be my favourite highlighted colour, because again, you see the dark colour of the brown underneath. It means that when you look at it, you see a little bit of light on top of a lot of dark, and just, the wash helps with that quite a lot. Binoculars, again, we're seeing the dark areas, we're seeing the shiny areas too, which have just been highlighted. So yeah, really, really good. And I really like looking at them and just seeing how it comes out. Right, that is the metal done, and I reckon I've got just uniforms. Well, actually, let's see. My 2 snipers like that. Do I need anything but flesh on them? No, I don't. So I've got those 2 to do with flesh. Flesh on them. And then I've got uniforms and flesh for everybody else. So let's start off. Let's do. Let's do those camouflage suits first. I think that's what we're going to do. Do the white camouflage first. Let's clear a bit of space on my palette. The nice thing about the Vallejo colours actually is, except for the ones that were still wet, when they go hard, you can actually just scrape them off the palette. Right, let's get that paint off my hand. That was not clever at all. Right, let's get the paint app up. It is called Citadel Paint. So if you're looking for it, looks like that. Comes up like that. And you have various things. So I'm going to do paint by colour. I'm going to choose white. And I believe I've used that one where I used the non-oil. So put a black wash over a grey paint. So now what I'm going to do is use something called Euthalan Grey. It's just another grey. We're going to layer that over, leaving some of the white still very much visible. And what I like to do with this, or with any of the highlights, and you'll see the same with the uniforms in a minute, is I like to leave where the bits where the ink washes has seeped into the gaps. I don't paint those bits, and I find that leaves a really nice contrast. So hopefully I can show you some of that in just a second once I have. In fact, I'm not going to be able to. I tell a lie, because it's too dark near my camera. The camera's not focusing. Well, it is focusing. I tell a lie. It is focusing, but because of the resolution, and I'll have to look into getting it as a higher resolution. This was what was suggested to me by the program. Right. Cool thing is, I don't know, highlights. It sounds like it's going to take a long time. It really doesn't have to. I mean, you can, if you really want to paint at a really high standard, do multiple highlights. So you have various layers of highlight on highlight on highlight, or you can just choose to do one highlight. It's really that simple, and it is down to you. You know, they're your figures. You do them as detailed or as undetailed as you like. And I will say I dab quite a lot as well. So if I'm a little bit unsure about, I don't want a brush stroke that's going to ruin what I'm trying to do, I will just dab. Not the dab with your arms. I don't know what that thing's called, but it just came to my mind. Okay. Just neaten some of this up. Do his top jacket is, yeah, this jacket here. Put too much paint on there. So then what we want to try to do is, after this coat, we're actually going to put on an even more extreme highlight. So I don't tend to do that many highlights, but because I'm using this guide on the GW app, the plan is to follow it, and it's sort of gives you an extreme highlight just on the edges, actually, of like a real sort of bright white. So I've got, I think it suggests scar white, but I've got ceramite white. And for that, we're just going to do just the edges, really. Nearly there, and it is actually starting to look a lot more white. It's really crazy because I'm putting grey paint down, but it really is starting to look much more like a white snowsuit. So hats off to GW, they clearly know what they're doing. It's more than I know. Now, I probably should have said at the start, guys, that this is definitely by no stretch of the imagination a painting tutorial or anything like that. I am not qualified for that. This is simply about me having some hobby time to myself, sharing that time with you guys. In case anybody's interested, in case anybody wants to see somebody work at something and maybe not be the best at it. I think that's sometimes as encouraging as seeing somebody who's brilliant at it. Sometimes we have to know that people are human. Right, so let's see, does that come across? It does a little bit. If I can angle it. So you can kind of see where I've left patches there with the additional highlights. So I'm going to do that with the next guy. He's actually come out really well. I'm quite pleased with him. So I'm going to do the next guy, and then yeah, hopefully by that point it should be dry and I can put on the next layer. Sometimes, and I'll show you with the uniforms, although the uniforms are a little bit advantageous in the sense that they, because I've got so many of them to do, they tend to take longer to get through the first coat. So by the time I get done with the last guy on the first layer, I can go back and start on the second layer because they've dried. Whereas with these two, I've only got two, so it's going to be a little bit trickier to get them done and dried before I start on the next layer. But highlighting really, for me, I guess if I were to give anybody a tip, is actually to make sure you've got a really good brush with a good tip on it, because what you want is that real accuracy of being able to get sort of on lines and do it to a degree that you really fine paintbrush. That tip is very much kept, and I find after painting highlights for even a minute or so, it starts to dull that tip. So what I tend to do is go back, wash the paintbrush, get that tip back and start again, or carry on. So if you don't have that, you can sometimes go over that shadow that you want to keep there, or you miss the line, or the line becomes bigger than it should be. And it's sad when that happens, a little bit frustrating. So yeah, keep washing your brush out, keep getting the tip absolutely fine. Yeah, I think that's time to get this bit in here. I think that's time for me to wash my brush. Okay, washing the brush time. And back we go. So onto the sleeves. That cuff. Gotta have that. Gotta have the edge for that. Gotta have that tip. If you don't have the tip, creases are very tricky to get to. And putting too much paint on your brush, like I just have, is also not helpful. I haven't started singing yet. Humming, yes. Whistling. I don't think I've done any whistling yet, which is good. The embarrassment factor. I found myself the other day, I was painting and I started swinging back on my stool so instead of holding my breath, I was literally swinging back on my chair painting. I was so finely balanced. If anything had gone wrong, That was it. My painting would have been awful. I don't know why I did that, but I just found myself doing that. Yeah, let's hear from you. If you've got something weird that you do, a little bit of a habit, or while you're painting, let us know what it is. Do you have to have, you know, X amount of chocolate biscuits next to you, or a cup of tea, or what is it that you do that just is a little bit different? Luckily, I think Pierce and Ben are both at work, so that means that they're not going to be able to give me grief on Facebook Messenger while I'm doing this, which is nice. Well, just means they won't actually be watching me. But that's fine. That is lovely. And last little bit on his sleeve here. Lovely. And that's that guy done. So I'm really pleased with how they've come out. They are looking really, really good. Again, I get excited and I think it looks really good. Oh, that's interesting. My wife just told me that 3 helos have flown by, in her own words. Which, never heard her use the word helo before, but that's good. Right, so I've got 3 colours left. We've been painting for about an hour. So that's 10 guys, pretty much highlighted in just about an hour. As I said, the other highlights won't take me very long at all. It's 12:10. I think what we're going to probably do is actually finish these guys up for you, so that you can see that actually within a very short space of time. Oh, I've got flush as well, but in a very short space of time, we've been able to really tackle 10 guys. Now, to be fair, 7 of them are in the prone position, but you know, in a fairly short space of time, you can highlight quite quickly. I'm going to just do a little bit of flesh on a couple of the guys that are basically finished as it is, just to give you, not that you can see it of course, but just to let you know that flesh can be done. So what am I doing here? Doing the top of the back of the hand, and then just getting the fingers in there as well. And again, that point that I talked about with your brush, that's where this is going to be really important for that. Don't be scared to go ahead and wash your brush after each hand, because the tip is really important, particularly when we get onto the face as well. It's going to be so important. If we don't have that point, getting those individual fingers is really difficult. Now, actually, funnily enough, these are the Shellhole Scenics figures, and their hands are quite chunky. So actually getting getting the fingers done is not too difficult. Right, face. Hi, love. I am recording, but don't worry.
It's just practice right
now. Yeah, well, it's the one that's going on, but it's not.
Hi. Okay.
That's fine. You're fine. Right, there's one done. You want to have anything? Nope. Okay. I'll probably, I reckon, Should be able to break for lunch shortly,
Okay.
if you fancy it. Got socks in the frying pan stuck in my head.
Bye. Where'd you go?
Go on, Ash. Right, there's the team gone. You okay? Yeah. Didn't sound all that good. Right. I'm going to have to take a pause. In fact, might even stop it for there today. I'm going to finish these off, and I'll see you guys on Saturday, hopefully. Take care.